Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It is Saturday night, live Q&A. We tried it last week, you liked it, so we're going to do it again. We'll be interacting with your live comments, Snapchat, which is Manchester United, no it's not, it's United Stand MUFC, all one word, and also on Twitter. There is a tweet on Twitter about where you can put your Q&A questions there, so we'll be going to those in a minute. But start off, there is some news. There's always going to be news this summer, so it's never going to be as simple as just going straight into Skype Goldbridge or straight into the Q&A on a Saturday night or whatever we're doing, because there's always going to be something to talk about. And there's two things to talk about tonight. Jose Mourinho has said that his list is with Ed Woodward, but there is a good surprise on there for Manchester United fans. Who is that? You tell me. And also, we've got Ivan Perisic apparently signing for Manchester United around £40 million. I would imagine it'll be about 35 million sterling. Funny thing is, I watched the video I did on this about 6 weeks ago. I tweeted it out about 5 o'clock if people will go and watch it, because I just got in from work and I did a video because we were linked to Ivan Perisic. It was in the last international break, so it was 2 months ago. And halfway through the live stream, I got into an argument with a couple of people because I got fed up of the negativity around Ivan Perisic. Right, if you don't know who he is, he's a 28-year-old left-sided midfielder who plays for Inter Milan. A lot of people don't want him because he's not James Rodriguez and it's not Bernardo Silva and it's not sexy and it's not a Galactico costing £80 million. I would be ecstatic if we signed this player. I think he's absolutely perfect for what we need. And yeah, I mean, what can I tell you about him? 28, he's around, I think he's 6'1". Some people think he's 6'2", which is fantastic for a winger who is quick, two-footed, very creative, very skillful, can score brilliant goals, and got a cracking shot on him off both feet. And also, on top of all of that, he's ridiculously hard-working. I mean, this is the Jose Mourinho sort of player to a T. Perfect. I mean, he wants Willian from Chelsea because he's that, but this lad is Willian with about 5 extra inches on top. So I'm one of them people as a Manchester United fan who, look, if we sign Griezmann, I'm ecstatic. If we get a Bale or a Neymar, I'm not going to complain. But look at the season that's just gone, and I'm repeating what I said 2 months ago here because I did watch the video back to see what I'd said. And I was right 2 months ago. It's nice to look back and know you were right. But I said it 2 months ago. Look at the players this season, the players of the season this year. Pogba, Zlatan, Bale and Mkhitaryan were the signings last summer. None of those were player of the season this year. The people going for player of the season this year were Ander Herrera and Antonio Valencia. Not big Galactico signings, but hard-working, passionate players who get what playing for Manchester United is all about. And if I had my way, I'd have 7 or 8 Herrera Valencias and then 3 Pogbas. You know, the Galactico sort of 3 of them and then 8 absolute, you know, talented footballers but passionate grafters who get what playing for Manchester United is all about. And I think in Perisic you get that. And also the fact that he's 28 I think is turning some people off. He's only just turned 28 in February. He's got 3-4 years ahead of him. And Manchester United really do have a lack of players who are in their prime years experienced. He's played for a number of clubs. He's played for Borussia Dortmund. He was there for a couple of years. He's played for Wolfsburg. And he's played for Inter Milan. So, you know, he's a very experienced player. He's had a lot of European football. I think it'd be brilliant signing for Manchester United. He may not necessarily be first team, but we are crying out for natural width, and this guy will give it to us off both wings. But brilliant, an absolutely superb signing. Look, I know a few of you might be quite disappointed by it, but trust, you know, if you enjoy the United Stand, trust me, I'm not going to lie to you. You know I've been doing this for like 2 or 3 years. You know I'm big into transfers and I get very, very passionate about it. And I love doing the shows in the summer where we talk about targets. I spoke to you about Michael Keane this morning. I'm not massively confident about that signing and what it can bring. But as this Perisic, I'm very happy about it. If it's going to happen, I think it's a great signing. So if you believe anything that I say, trust me on that. I really do think he's a great signing. If it happens, we're not going to pay the earth for him. He's worth about £35 million at 28 years of age, and he's a fantastic footballer. I think, you know, he was great in the Euros. I just don't think many of you know much about him, and he's not the big name. He's not what you want. You want big names, but very important to Mourinho is not just having talent. It's also that inner fight and passion, and you don't always get that with the top players. That would be my concern with Neymar. Is he going to drop his toys away to Stoke when it's a bit cold and we're not playing that well, or is he going to graft? So I'm very happy if this happens. Jamie Dixon says more like Perisic. Look, there's going to be spoiled little fans out there who just doesn't play to their little agenda, but you're never going to please anybody. But if you're on the fence about this, well, like Lord Fellaini says, I trust Mourinho. I think he's a great signing. I think he's going to be a great signing for United. And those people who are having a pop at him are either not Manchester United fans, or you need to slap yourself in the face in the mirror, because you're acting very, very, very spoilt. And you actually haven't got a bloody clue about who Perisic is for a start. But you'll be proved wrong. I think he'll be a great signing. Omar Din says, happy birthday, Mark. Where did you get your haircut? I haven't had my haircut and it's not my birthday, but thanks for the contribution, Omar. I'm going to take all your questions now. Remember to start asking questions in the live comments. We'll also do what people have asked on Twitter, and we'll go through Snapchat as well. It's going to be very fast fire. Jose Mourinho's surprise signing, quoted this morning in Monaco, basically said, I know what my transfer list looks like of who are the players I want, but there's well, I wrote it down so I don't get misquoted. There's a very good surprise on there. Well, when he says very good surprise, take it as me. I'll take it as the United Stand community, because I know much about what sort of things you go with. A very good surprise to me isn't Griezmann. I want Griezmann, but it's not a very good surprise to me because I expect Griezmann. Perisic is not a very good surprise. Michael Keane's not a very good surprise because I expect them. A very good surprise to me, if I'm how I interpret that from Mourinho, and he's for him to say that, he's going to disappoint me and you lot here. A very good surprise for me would be keeping David De Gea, or signing somebody of the ilk of an Icardi, an Aubameyang, a Bale, a Verratti, that sort of top player. So let's see what Mourinho means by that, because Griezmann can't be a very good surprise, because we know and expect Griezmann to sign, and he's a fantastic world-class talent, but he can't be the very good surprise. So that's very exciting. And hopefully a few of you are going to start answering that, because I'm going to start taking your questions now. Nicholas Anderson, thanks for the contribution, Nicholas. Remember, the super chat option is there at the bottom with the $sign. Remember what we said a few days ago. From now on, 25% of super chat contributions will go to Macmillan. And if you don't know what Macmillan is, it's basically a cancer charity that deals with people who've got cancer, and hospices they have, places to go when you're effectively going to die, and they look after you there. I've had two people close to me, and Drawty has as well. So yeah, that will happen, and I think every month what we're going to do is going to say how much went, so that you lot know where it goes towards that. So everybody who's contribute, just know it's not just coming to the United Stand anymore, it's going to go to those charities as well. And also I need something to mention tomorrow as well, but let's get into some of your questions. This isn't Skype Goldbridge, no, the Raimi. Look, you don't get with your Skypes. Look, Skype Goldbridge is Monday and Thursday now. Them shows are going nowhere, and you get two of those. This show is for live comments, Twitter and Snapchat. We started it last week, people liked it, so we'll do it again. Remember to drop a like if you like the format, because we can always get rid of it if you don't. Whoever Mourinho's by, I trust, says Simran. Get the questions in. Mark, would you have Lucas from PSG? Says Wolfie Gaming. Well, we're talking about Lucas Moura there, I presume, who I spoke about last night. I'd take Perisic over him. There you go. Simple answer. Perisic played amazing for Inter this season, says Wolfie Gaming. Yes, very good. I've just said that. Wand of a left foot, says Nathan Knight. He has got a good left foot. I'm going to leave Wand of a left foot to James Rodriguez, because Perisic is actually quite good on his right as well. Syed says that Hirving Lozano signs for Celta Vigo for 14 million. Disappointed by that, to be honest, if it's true. I know he was linked to them, but keep an eye on him. I wanted Manchester United to sign him, not just because he's Mexican, but I think he'll be a good player. No, I'm not. Manchester United weren't linked to him. He's just a player I wanted us to sign. I want us to sign Icardi. We're not linked to him. I'm not Manchester United manager. But for me personally, next season it makes it easier for me to watch a bit of Hirving Lozano. I've not hardly watched him at all this season, apart from sort of highlights and things like that. So I do watch a lot of football throughout the season. So it's a reason to watch Celta Vigo if that happens. Ronaldo's coming back. I don't know who said that, but there we go. Tillan17 says, is Martial's career over? Look, I'm not going to be surprised if Anthony Martial gets sold this summer, but I would be disgusted if he gets sold this summer because for me, he is potentially still one of the best players in world football in the next 5 years. He's just not been used correctly this season. I think he's had a lacking of confidence this season, but I don't want Martial to be sold. And considering how much we spent on him as well, we wouldn't recoup that money. So I would not sell Martial. I think he's still got a lot about him. King Sharma says, Mark, would you prefer Draxler or Dybala? Well, Dybala every day of the week. Rishai says, which free agents would you take for United? None. There's nobody free that I would take. There's people going into their last years of their contract I would take. I still wouldn't have a problem with the signing Ross Barkley, to be honest. Because if we're going for Eric Dyer because he's English, I'd rather us get a decent centre defensive midfielder and then just get Ross Barkley because he's English. Wojciech makes a good point that Inter Milan want to keep Perisic, which may be a barrier for the deal because Inter Milan have got a lot of money now and so have AC Milan. Jose didn't say anything about a surprise signing. There is no clip or source. People on Twitter just said it. What proof have you seen? Well, I've read an article on it, so he did say it. Joey Barton could be a good move. Darren Parker and Southport. Do you think we're in for Belotti? I've spoken about Andrea Belotti from Torino a few times on numerous transfer shows, and it's quite interesting because I follow Di Marzio and he's got a British, I think he's actually based in America, who sort of works for Di Marzio. He's very good. I think it's Dave Amoyal or something like that, and he was being asked about Belotti today, and he said that Belotti reminds him of a young Gianluca Vialli. Now, if you remember, I said this probably about 6-7 weeks ago when I started talking about Belotti. I can't watch every game, every Juventus game, every Inter Milan game, every Villarreal game. But what I've tried to do since I started doing the United Stand is try and watch between 5 and 10 of everybody's games in the top leagues. And it's very difficult, but I like watching football. Torino, I haven't seen loads of them this season, but everything I've seen of Belotti, I did say a few weeks ago that he does remind me of Gianluca Vialli. Good off both feet, decent pace, strong, and a great finisher. And a lot of you won't remember Gianluca Vialli because he played for Chelsea at the back end of his career in the early 90s. Was it early to mid 90s? Probably a little bit later than that, but a fantastic striker, a really good striker, and you know that's. But Belotti has got a release clause of 100 million euros, so 80 million pounds. Are we going to pay that on a number 9? I think we're going to have to pay about anywhere between 50 and 80 million for whoever we want anyway, whether it's Aubameyang, Lukaku, Icardi, Harry Kane. You know, we're going to have to pay that anyway, so why not? Martins from Napoli is good, says Mr. Cute. He is, but he's signed a new contract. Red Devil for Life's made a contribution. Mark, would you take Belotti over Lukaku? Yes, I would. I'm not made up on Lukaku, and although Belotti is a risk, I'm not massively made up on Lukaku. I think he's a big game bottler, if you know what I mean. So no, I'm not made up on him at all. I'm just getting somewhere because I want to now just flick very quickly to Twitter questions and see what people have got to say on there, because we've got to make it fair. So let's pull that to the side there. So the question was put up on Twitter. If you are on Twitter and you want to put a question, I will go back to this in a minute. The question was put up on Twitter at 5:35, and the question we got, Nicolo21 says, if we don't get Anton Griezmann, what do we do? What do we do, Mark? What do we do if we don't get Anton Griezmann? I don't know what we do, Nicolo21. What do we do? Some Manchester United fans will go into meltdown. Probably me as well. I do want Griezmann. I'm very sure that we will get Griezmann, by the way, but I did say a year ago that my dream signing would be Griezmann. I didn't expect us to get Griezmann last summer. Now it's a possibility. If we don't get him, I'll be gutted because I want Griezmann. Nathan Trent fan says, would you take Sanchez over Aubameyang at United? Probably not. Probably not, if I'm totally honest, because Aubameyang's a number 9, an out-and-out striker, and I think that's what we need. Alexis Sanchez is a very good player, but you can't really play him up front as a number 9, and he's not as quick as Aubameyang. But I know a lot of people will disagree with that. Why Only Me says, we didn't attack great enough this year. Should we change formation like Chelsea? What, like the Chelsea that just got played off the park by Arsenal? Next. Sahaz Bagalot says, would you rather go all out and get 4 or 5 world-class players or 3 world-class players and 3 grafters? Well, at the start of the video, definitely 3 world-class players and 3 grafters like your Herreras and your Valencias. You can't just have a team of Galacticos. Don G, if Sanchez goes to Bayern, could you see us going for Muller? And thoughts on Morata rejecting us for Milan? Oh, have we really been rejected by Morata? It just makes me laugh. We're going to get rejected by so many players this year because it sells papers, and Manchester United are never going to make an official comment on something they've never been involved in. Otherwise, they'd spend all close season doing it. Apparently, we've been rejected by Silva yesterday. We've been rejected by Morata today. When James Rodriguez doesn't sign for us and sign for somebody else, he will have rejected us. The reality is we're not in for these players, but just take it on the chin. We've not been rejected, and a lot of people didn't want Morata anyway. I've already answered that, Ben Mooney, about Belotti, so you've been answered. Liz MCFC says, are you happy with Mourinho? Yes, thank you. Do you think we would be better off signing Kane over Griezmann because Kane is going to score? No, God, no, Dylan. No, next. Will David De Gea get a pay cut if he joins Real Madrid? Don't care. Sorry, Doug. I'm not being horrible to you all. I just don't really care how much De Gea gets paid if he leaves. Atul's got a good question. What are the minimal expectations for next season? Title for me. We'll come back to Twitter, but it's got to be the title, surely. We'll come back to that, but it's got to be the title next year. Surely, everybody. What do you think? I think the title has to be the answer next season because that's what Mourinho does. That is what Jose Mourinho does. Bayern got Vidal. We've got him a long time, Selwell. I will sell my left nut if you can provide proof. Jose said anything about a secret signing. Nafedge, I will tweet it out once I've done this, but I am not going to mess around when I'm doing a live show, mate. So, not my fault you can't find what I found, so there we go. Lost said snubbed again. Nafel, I'm going to actually just put you into a timeout because I cannot stand people who just put the same comment again and again and again. Mendy's going to City, says Jefferson. Look, Mendy is one that I know that we are in for. Mourinho likes him. He's not made up on Luke Shaw. But Man City are just, I mean, they're going to sign 3 money. I think that's a little bit embarrassing. I don't know what you lot think. But if you sign 3 players from another club, from the same club, I think that is embarrassing. I think that is like an admission of being absolute crap by Pep Guardiola if he goes and signs 3 Monaco players, because it's like that you are just basically taking somebody else's side. Now, obviously, if Man City sign 5 players and we sign 5 players, then we've signed as many as them. But that we won't sign 5 players from the same club. I think signing 3 players from the same club is just lazy and a total admission that you are copying somebody else's success and trying to put it into your team. Proper managers go out and sign players from different clubs because they want different things. Lazy, desperate managers go and sign 3 or 4 players from the same club. So if he signs Fabinho, Silva and Mendy, he's basically signing 3 of the best players from Monaco, which I just think, I find it laughable. But he's desperate. Guardiola is on the ropes. Man City didn't expect to be signing a checkbook manager with Pep Guardiola. No. When they got Pep Guardiola, they were signing a man who apparently had the rule book on how you play brilliant football and you win. And that rule book is, I'm sorry, it's been confined to history because it was very Messi centric. He's now in the Premier League and he's realised that my footballing tactics of ridiculous passing it out the back is not going to work. The only thing I can do is be a checkbook manager, and that's what Guardiola is doing. He spent more than anybody last summer to come third and win nothing, and he'll spend more than anybody this year because he's desperate. And at some point, he might win the league next year. I think United will win it, but he might win the league next year by spending another £300 million. But you chuck enough money at something, then you win, don't you? Hubert number 10 when Rooney goes, says Tabish. Well, I think Griezmann will play there, but he'll be number 7. MDFV Gaming, so the dream summer window for me would be Alderweireld, Nelson Semedo, Benfica, Fabinho, Monaco, Saul Niguez, Atletico Madrid, Ousmane Dembele from Borussia Dortmund, and Griezmann from Atletico Madrid. I mean, to be honest though, I must just go back to that point. You're meant to be asking me questions, you see. So I developed that point that I just said there, which is basically asking myself a question. Atletico Madrid. I like Jimenez, the centre-back. I like Oblak, the goalkeeper. I like Saul Niguez, the midfielder. And I like Griezmann. But I would never want us to go and sign 4 players from Atletico Madrid for the same reasons I've just said about Monaco there. It's the sort of thing Liverpool do with Southampton. They just monitor Southampton all the time. Ankit Sharma has made a contribution. Pep is after our targets and he's got a £300 million oil budget. Look, City are funded on oil. We know that. Let them crack on. Brendan, thanks for that comment. I don't know why this is all starting up again. Full-Time Devils is better than us. Have Full-Time Devils said something about the United stand? Because we haven't said anything about them. As far as we're concerned, they're a Manchester United fan channel. We're very different to them. Some people like both. Some people just like one. If you like that one, go and watch that one and leave us alone to our community, because I couldn't give a shit if you prefer them over us or not. It makes no difference at all. If you're trying to stir something up, you're not going to get me talking about them and criticising them. So there you go. Mark, you forgot to say my message from my contribution. Did I? I'll go back and find out that, Nicholas. I'm pretty sure I did read it out, but I don't want to not get a contribution for you. So let's have a look. Super chat list. I've got to do Snapchat in a minute as well. This show is the most tiring show today, but in a way it's quite enjoyable. Nicholas Anderson, yes, I did read your comment. You were talking about Perisic and you said I haven't seen loads of him, but from what I saw of the Euros, he looked like an all-round top talent. Unless I read that in my head and didn't read it out, I apologise, Nicholas, but I definitely did read it. Okay, we're up to date with that. So let me go back and back. Remember to drop a like on the video, please. That sounded really desperate, didn't it? You're not going to like the video now. Please drop a like on the video. No, we're a community, so please do drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the United Stand, subscribe. Got a ramble back with Robbie tomorrow. If there's nothing to get surprised about, excited about, then there is that. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what is he on about with the ramble with Robbie? You'll find out tomorrow. Get a grip, Mark, says O2XB. About what? What am I meant to be gripping? Oh, here we go. Beck, if you're on the moderator and people are starting, can you just block them, get rid of them? Will is one of them. In fact, I can do it myself. I cannot. I'm not having a summer of chat about another Manchester United fan channel. So if we're going down that route, really, I'm not interested in it. I don't want to talk about them. It's boring. They tried it last summer and we never should have fell into that trap. I am not going down that road. So you're either going to get blocked, muted or kicked off, but you're going to get ignored from now on. Does Twansibi have Mourinho's trust, says Joseph PHM? Fantastic question at last. Yes, I think he does. Let's not forget with Twansibi, he played in the midfield away from home against Arsenal and Spurs, and at home to Crystal Palace. The interesting thing about the youth of Manchester United is, will Twansibi go on loan next year? Because he's young enough that a year on loan for a side is not a bad thing. I don't want to see Twansibi next season have what happened to Fosu Mensah happen to him, where Fosu Mensah up until the last game of the season had played less than 20 minutes in the Premier League. So he needs football, and Pereira's been away and had football, so I want them to have football. I do. Who's the special signing? I don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Lots of support for the United Stand. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can you make me a mod, Mark? Says the obnoxious otter. Mad Mark is in charge of that, not me. I think he's going to sort it out. Kazim says I've had a few drinks today. I haven't. I'm having a drink now with you lot. Can I get one of them United Stand t-shirts, says Darren James? The short answer is probably no at the moment, but we can certainly, if people want t-shirts, I'm sure we can sort them out. I'm not getting many questions, that's why I'm taking a while. Okay, we've got one here from, it's a super chat actually, from Darian Jones. He says, hi Mark, can you use your connections to find out about Bale? I'm seeing many rumours about him wanting the move here to United, also from his agent. Look, I don't like that sort of comment because people will say, what connections and all this, that and the other. And, you know, people just don't believe it if you do get information. And what I would say is, look, I don't know anybody who knows Gareth Bale's agent or any footballer's agents. I don't know people like that. What we do get, and what we have had for the last couple of years, is information fed through that sometimes is right and sometimes not. In relation to Gareth Bale, I was told about Gareth Bale about 2 weeks ago that, and at the same time I was also told about, I can never get his name right, Raji Nainggolan from Roma, and that broke a few days later that we were in for him. So this person said, look, in relation to Gareth Bale, all they said is don't think it's out of the question. He's much more open to the move than many people think. So that's all I can say about Gareth Bale at the moment. But what I would say about any signing is, any signing, probably apart from Messi and Ronaldo, as I said last night, Manchester United can do anything. Doesn't mean they will, but I won't be surprised if we get Neymar or Bale this summer. I won't. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Probably won't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. If Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea or Manchester City signed Neymar or Gareth Bale this summer, I'd fall off my chair. I'd be stunned. If Manchester United did it, I'd think, well, that's the sort of thing that Manchester United can do. How much playing time do you think Fosu Mensah will get next year, says Tevin Belford? It's an open question. He needs a hell of a lot more than he got last year. And Callum Smith, Mark, how much have you seen of Lucas from PSG? He has the skill of Sanchez, but no way as good of a player, and Mourinho could push him to become great. I haven't watched loads of Moura, probably about 5 games of PSG this season, Lucas Moura. But I wanted him to sign 5 years ago when Sir Alex Ferguson wanted him. I'd watched a lot of him like around that time we were interested in him. I think he's regressed in the French league because the French league isn't competitive. It's a bit of a pub league below 3 or 4 teams. I think if he comes to the Premier League under United, he'd be a better player now because it's more competitive. That doesn't mean that Mourinho can't take him to the next level. I'll trust Mourinho if he wants to go for him. Is the quick answer. I've just realised. Rick H, I want to answer this because he says, do you think Ander Herrera will extend his contract at Manchester United? 100%. I think he will do. So I wouldn't worry about that. We have got some Snapchat, so let me just go through. Dylan Curry. Didn't say anything. Kieran Byrne.
Secret signing is Harry Kane.
Secret signing is Harry Kane, according to Kieran Byrne. United Stand MUFC on Snapchat. Seb Breezer 6.
I actually have a feeling that Jose Mourinho will be signing Karim Benzema this summer from Real Madrid.
He thinks it's going to be Karim Benzema. I've always felt that Benzema would be a good striker in the Premier League. I think he's got all the attributes. He's relatively quick. He's good in the air. He's strong. He's a decent finisher. I always felt that if Arsenal had signed Benzema 5 or 6 years ago, they might have won a title. But it's not my job to sort Arsenal out. But they do have always lacked a good striker. He snubbed us a couple of times, Benzema. I don't know whether he'd come. C.A. Moiran says,
would you take Rafinha from Barcelona?
I don't think we'll get Rafinha from Barcelona. I don't think we'll get anybody from Barcelona unless it's Iniesta who's out of contract. Who, to be honest, Iniesta 4 or 5 years ago, yes, not now. And we've got a few more coming in now. Stephen X.
I don't want Lucas or Perisic. I don't want any.
He doesn't want Lucas or Perisic. Anthony Gong.
Hey Mark, Javier Hernandez or Irving Lozano?
Javier Hernandez or Irving Lozano. Javier Hernandez or Irving Lozano. Irving Lozano because he's younger, he's got more potential, and I think he has the potential to be a top class player at Manchester United. Javier Hernandez to sit on our bench and use as our sub striker when we need a goal. I love Hernandez anyway, but I would take Irving Lozano, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen if it's true. Right, let's go back to the live comments. Herrera could go and Matuidi could come in, says Dills Savage. I think there's absolutely no chance of Herrera going. When do I think Angel Gomez will break into the first team, says Kyle Summers. I think he'll get a little bit more game time next season, hopefully in the League Cup. I don't think he's ready yet. He's only 16. There's no rush. And he needs to grow a little bit as well, but he's going to be a star. He's just got to avoid injury, and he'll be a star. What is your opinion on Januzaj, says Lee Doran. My opinion on Januzaj is probably not what some people want to hear, but my opinion on Januzaj is get whatever money we can get for him and get him off the Manchester United books. People say he's never had a chance at Manchester United. 2 seasons in a row under Louis van Gaal, he played 4 games in a row for the first team and was pretty atrocious. He's had his chance at Manchester United. He's had a chance at Borussia Dortmund and got sent home. He had a chance at Sunderland, the team that got relegated. And whilst he had little bits of good play, generally, consistently pretty average. Why do people think that Januzaj coming back to Manchester United is a good idea? This is exactly the sort of player that needs to get kicked out of Manchester United. Mediocre, deadwood player that is just a waste of time, an oxygen thief within a squad that needs to take the next step to being Premier League champions and challenging for the Champions League. Adnan Januzaj is a good Championship player, stroke bottom half of the Premier League player. Not good enough for Manchester United. Don't know the lad. Don't need to know the lad. Got nothing against the lad. I judge players on what they can do for Manchester United in the first team in a Manchester United shirt. And that lad's not good enough. He got to go. He's had his chances. I'll argue that with anybody. Get rid. Can Harrop be a first team player? Says, look, I think most of those players who played for Manchester United last week against Crystal Palace, the young lads, will never play for Manchester United in the first team. I don't think they will. Harrop is 21, so he's not like he's 16 or 17, and a lot of them are older than Rashford. So I don't see any of them making it for Manchester United, to be honest. Apart from Twansibi, I don't think McTominay, I don't think Mitchell, I don't think Harrop. I can't see it. I can't see it. I hope I'm proved wrong, but I don't think so. And to be fair, I said this a week ago before the game. These are the sort of young players that nobody really is talking about being good enough to make it. But I think they'll probably have good careers. Again, a bit like Januzaj. Look at Robbie Brady. Championship, sort of lower Premier League sort of sides, mid-table. Yes, I think they'll have. I think he. But the thing is, I think people get. I don't think Mourinho will allow this to happen, by the way. But I think people get a little bit brought down, like, oh, we want them to do well, and because they're not quite good enough, but they're from the youth system, let's play them. We've got to get back to that thing. We've got to get back to that level where, look, you might be from the youth system, but if you're not good enough, off you go. It's the mistake with Jesse Lingard. I think Jesse Lingard has just landed on his feet perfectly because he's marketable. Adidas, he gets put on the same adverts as Messi, Jesse Lingard, as the Manchester United Adidas representative. Jesse Lingard gets put on a lot of those adverts. I think Jesse Lingard has landed on his feet. And I haven't got anything against Jesse Lingard, but when I only judge him on a Manchester United first team, and he's not a first team player. And I think he's just fell in there for a very lucky situation where he sort of came through when Manchester United weren't doing very well, and he's established himself as that sort of, well, he's a local lad, we want him to play. Any other era, under Sir Alex Ferguson, for example, he wouldn't be near the first. He would have been gone. He'd be playing in the Championship now because he's not actually good enough to be part of the first team squad. He's a decent player. I mean, people like I follow a lot of our youth players when they go on loan because why not? It's interesting. Jesse Lingard went to Birmingham and scored 4 goals in 1 game. I think it was his debut. I obviously live in the Birmingham area. And pretty much after that, he was bang average. At Derby, he scored a few goals, but he was pretty much bang average. In the Championship, he was pretty much what he's like for Manchester United now, a bit bang average. But he's got himself on this long-term contract, and he's going to be at Manchester United for a long time. But he's touching mid-20s. I don't see any development for him. And the one thing that he needs to do, if anybody knows Jesse Lingard, can they just ask him one question? Why don't you go down the gym and bulk up? You're running through one-on-one. We've been saying it all season, but you're running through one-on-one and you can score. You can score in a final in the Europa League and get all the glory. You're ahead of somebody and you get knocked off it like, just knocked to the floor. I don't understand why he can't go and bulk himself up because that's one of the biggest problems with his game. He's so lightweight. What about Cameron Borthwick-Jackson? He was crap with us at Wolves, says Matthew Brown. Well, this is people... Yeah, you're right, Matthew. I like Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, but he gets mentioned a hell of a lot on here as, oh, he can be our first-team left-back. He's a million miles off it. I think people just need to, look, not treat these players as individual, like, human beings. Like, oh, you know, because they're probably nice lads. Judge them as Manchester United first team players. Borthwick Jackson is not going to be our left back next season. I'll be stunned. He's not going to be a Manchester United left back. He's not done particularly well at Wolves. He's not going to come back to the Premier League and Mourinho's going to go, you're my left back. He's going to go out and try and sign someone like Mendy, because that is the sort of thing you need to play for Manchester United. Do you think Jose's treatment of certain players this season could have had an effect on us attracting potential signings, says Breach69? That's a very, very good question. Look, Mourinho came out himself this week and said that he has a problem with players that don't sort of conform to his way of thinking in relation to their attitude, and he loses interest in those players. And we can all predict who those players are. Martial, Luke Shaw, Chris Smalling, Mkhitaryan at some point during the season. These are players that, I don't think they have bad attitudes, by the way. I think this is where people, again, fall into this trap. Oh, they're lazy. It's nothing to do with that. It's just that their personality, and everybody's got a different personality, isn't one that Mourinho likes. Fellaini's come out today and said, I'd break my foot for Mourinho. And Mourinho loves Fellaini. It's nothing to do with footballing ability. He loves Fellaini because Fellaini's the sort of person who Mourinho can say, go and pick all those balls up, run around the pitch 10 times, then do my weekly shop. And the Fellaini will go and go off and do it. That's a dog, by the way. And I'm not criticising Fellaini for that, because Marcus Rashford is another player that Mourinho loves because he does the same sort of thing. Anthony Martial might be quite a shy, withdrawn sort of person and needs an arm round his shoulder. I suspect he is. But Mourinho isn't the sort of person to do that, who he admits I'm not. So players will fall by the wayside who are probably good enough, just because Mourinho's love of players is very one-dimensional. He wants players who will just go off and do as they're told. And I don't think he's a great manager at putting his arm around people's shoulders. He expects men to be men, I suppose, and work hard. But that's, I've managed people. I'm sure a lot of you have. I've worked with people. I'm sure a lot of you have. Everybody has a different personality. And when I'm dealing with people, I can know somebody I can be quite firm with, and I can know some people that I've got to be quite, coaxing with. I don't think Mourinho actually, and by his own admission, he says that's not really the way he works. FIFA King says, thoughts on Renato Sanchez. I like Renato Sanchez. If you saw my FIFA meltdown this afternoon, what a disaster that was on my channel, my career mode. I do have Renato Sanchez in the midfield. He was doing quite well up until this particular stream. But the rumour, as Robin said from Sweden the other day, the rumour with Renato, he said Renato Sanchez will not be coming to Manchester United. Renato Sanchez's problem at Bayern Munich is that off the football pitch he is quite disruptive, and he's not settled, and he doesn't like it at Bayern Munich, and there's no way United will go near him. So, but as a footballer, I wanted us to sign him last year. Andreas Pereira, what's your opinion about him? Look, if you might well be new, Lincoln, but I've been on about Andreas Pereira for a long time. In fact, he scored a cracker on my FIFA stream this afternoon, right in the top corner. But no, I want him to be given a chance. Andreas Pereira is a player I've been on about for pretty much since the start of the United stand. I think he's good enough. He's way better than Jesse Lingard. I just hope he's given a chance. Mourinho spoke quite encouraging about him last summer when he played for him a bit in the pre-season games. He's gone off to Granada, a team that got... the contrast between Januzaj and Pereira couldn't be more stark. Pereira, playing in a team that got relegated in La Liga, was absolutely fantastic, scored a lot of goals, loads of man of the matches, performance, even in a team that was crap. Januzaj, in a team that gets relegated in the Premier League, you hardly hear anything about him. Pereira deserves a chance. Well, I can't guarantee he's going to get it, but I really hope that he does. Mark, who would your ideal centre-back signing be, says Footy Freak. It's very difficult because we do need a centre-back, but I think I would probably still go with... Look, I like Sergio Ramos. I thought we were going to get that deal done a couple of years ago, but I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. But I do like Sergio Ramos. I like Varane. I like the PSG one, the Brazilian lad, Marquinhos. And I obviously like Manolas. I like Van Dijk at Southampton. But I've got to be blunt, Michael Keane doesn't excite me at all. I've watched Michael Keane play quite a few times this season, and I don't see what Mourinho sees in him that he wants to spend £20 million on him, because I just don't see him getting anywhere near a Premier League winning side. I don't think Chelsea would want him. I don't think City would want him. I don't think Arsenal even would want him. So why we want him, I don't know. But you have to trust Mourinho, don't you? Back to Twitter. Where did we get to? Fellaini out says, why Perisic? Someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain is as good. Also English. You're wrong. This is just I think that's such a blinkered opinion. Such a blinkered opinion. He is in his final year of his contract, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I do like him. I don't mind him coming to Manchester United. And if Mourinho can pull that off, I think Chamberlain would be decent. But the problem with Oxlade-Chamberlain is, like a lot of Arsenal bottlers, he's very injury prone. But you're very wrong to say that Chamberlain is better than Perisic. Perisic is double the player he is. And again, this is just the sort of mythical nonsense that goes out there on people who are not educated in how good Perisic is. He's way better than Oxlade-Chamberlain. In fact, Tom Caffrey's just come back with that. I should have read that. He says, not on the level of Perisic, not really proven, and not that cheap. They're having a little chat with each other. Angry Penfold, could we see a partner for Rashford in the summer and return to a more classic 2 nearly up front? No, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I think 2 up front is dead. It's dead. You can get away with 1 up front and 1 sort of in behind them if they're going to work really hard and get back into the midfield, which is effectively what Griezmann would do. But you could never play Rashford and Zlatan. You could never play like a Defoe and a Harry Kane. You just can't do it. It's a shame. I used to like the 4-4-2, but you can't do it anymore. And look back to your Coles and your Yorks playing together. Yeah, those days are gone. Mickey says, how well do you think we'll do in the Champions League next year? I'll be out. Look, if we get to the quarterfinals next year, and then let's see what happens. I think if we get to the quarterfinals next year, you could pull Barcelona, Real Madrid out the hat, and I'm not saying we will get beat, but we could get beat. So I think quarterfinals has to be the sort of minimum that we would hope for next season. And I don't know about you lot. I mean, it's probably a little bit early to have this conversation, but my feeling about next year is this: Premier League's the priority. Champions League quarterfinals or better. League Cup, play the kids. FA Cup, maybe a mixture of first teamers and reservists, and let's see what happens in the FA Cup. But the League Cup, I know we won it this year. Let's park it. You know, we've got no reason to play for. You know, he played the first team in the League Cup this year. Next year, park it. Play the reserves and the kids. If we get to the final, great. But let's not prioritise it. I understand why he did this year because he likes to win a trophy in his first year. But we don't need to prioritise it this year. That's my point. Superman United says Mourinho in Monaco for Grand Prix or Grand Monaco Spree. Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe a little bit of both. The rumour is that he might be there to try and sort out Mendy. But do not forget, Di Marzio said Mourinho was in love with Mbappe 2 months ago. Di Marzio is spot on about Manchester United transfer news pretty much all the time. Is he over there to get Mbappe? Because if we get Mbappe, I think the world's going to go wappy. Rubbish that. The Lego card, I don't know what they're on about there. Philip Presido says, what about Timu Bakayoko? Look, I got a Liverpool account trying to mug the United Stand Twitter account off the other day because in February said Mourinho should get Bakayoko. He is the next best thing in centre defensive midfield in world football. And then in February, and then at the end of the season, a couple of weeks ago, I said Chelsea are going to get Bakayoko and he's not all that. And then it's like, oh, look at these United fans, one opinion, then another. Suffice to say, there's 4 months between that opinion, and I've watched Bakayoko a lot since between March and the start of May. And my opinion on him has dropped massively, so much so, he hasn't signed for Chelsea yet, so this is not like me saying this now. He could sign for Manchester United. I don't want us to sign him. I've got massive concerns about Bakayoko at Monaco. He's got no pace, from what I've seen. He doesn't seem to sense danger. His ball movement's not that... I don't think he's actually a hell of a lot better than Fellaini, so that just says that. I might be proved wrong, but I don't want him. I don't want him. Perisic, fake or real news, says Dylan Matthew Jack. Look, it's in the press, but it was in the press 6 weeks ago as well. I think there's something in it, but who knows? Beck Howell says Bale or Neymar. I would have to be Neymar, but I would be just because he's younger and he is better. But I'd be over the moon with either. I think we all would. And Tijuan HD, we need to fill these positions. Striker if Ibra goes, right midfield, central attacking midfield, and left back. Who would you sign and why? I think we need a number 10. I think we need a centre defensive midfielder and a centre back as well, Tijuan. And do you think it's possible to get Varane from Madrid if we some way keep De Gea at United? Anything's possible. Anything's possible with United. So GGMH, anything is possible. Let me bring it back to the Super Chats and we'll take... in fact, I know what we'll do. We'll do a couple of you, then we'll do Snapchat, then we'll go back to you. Nightmare TV. Hi Mark. Just wondering, how far off is Rashford to becoming an established number 9? Look, I wasn't impressed with Rashford in the Europa League final, but I wasn't critical of him because he's a 19-year-old lad who's had a great year. But I think the Europa League final showed to me he's not ready to be our number 9 yet. And why should he be? Why should a 19-year-old lad be ready to play up front for Manchester United to win a Premier League and a Champions League? It's a big ask to play that position as an out-and-out number 9 in the modern game as a 19-year-old. I still think he's got a bit of developing to do. I think Mourinho needs to bring in a top striker. He might keep Zlatan, by the way, but we'll have to wait and see. But I still believe Rashford's going to be top talent, but I just think he's got a little bit of journey. I still think he's got a journey to go. I don't think he's the complete package yet. And because he's not the complete package yet, you've got to sort of nurture him and give him opportunities. And also, the bad thing is, if he chose Rashford, this is the best point I'm going to come out about Rashford. If he decided that Rashford's his number 9 and he's going to use him, who's Rashford going to learn from? That's the most important thing for Rashford. He's still learning and he needs somebody. This last year with Zlatan would have been absolutely amazing for him. Also having people like Rooney around him. But they're probably going to go this summer. Rashford's your first choice. Who's he learning from? He becomes the focal point. And I think Rashford will benefit from another 1 or 2 years with somebody a bit more higher status than him to learn from. Shaka Phillips says, Mark, your thoughts on Dembele from Spurs? I've always quite liked Dembele at Spurs. I've always liked him. I think I've seen him play against United a few times. And he's such a driving force from the midfield. But I doubt we're in for him. Jason Bourne 89, I'd love Aubameyang. Yeah, so would I. Mark, where do you think Griezmann will play? Number 10 behind the striker, but he can play either width as well. You could even put him up front if you wanted to, but I don't think that is the ideal position for him at all. Royce is injured again, says Anabav, which is exactly why I wouldn't want him at Manchester United. Our Lost Boy makes a good point about Rashford, to be fair. The kid had no one near him and he was playing against 2 defenders. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. Look, I don't really want to... Look, as far as I'm concerned, I've shaken hands with last season and I've moved on positively with Champions League and a trophy we never won. But if I go back to that final, and I'm totally blunt, ecstatic, one of the best nights ever. But the performance as an attacking team was pretty dire. Fellaini, Pogba, Herrera, very workmanlike. Mkhitaryan and Mata, very workmanlike. And Rashford just up front on his own. He had no support. You're spot on. Bit of Snapchat. I tell you what, this show is the most tiring one I do. But drop a like if you enjoy it. If you like working me hard. Right. It's loading. Let's do one of yours. Come on. Aldevalda says, I don't think we'll get any Spurs players. It's Ollie says, is it only you who has access to the United Stand Twitter? Oh, I see what you mean. No. Mark, are you sad that Silva signed for City? Says Simon Coffey. I'll come back to that one, Simon. Let me just take Keister98.
Mark, what's your thoughts on Dendoncker as a defensive mid from Anderlecht? And would you try to sign him?
It's a good shout. Look, there are going to be players like the Anderlecht lad there, and there, people mentioned Tillemans, and look, there are players from lesser clubs that. But I think it's too much of an ask. If I'm totally honest, I think it's too much of an ask. And I think the signings Mourinho is going to make this summer are going to be signings that he's not taken any risks on because he's been let down by a lot of the squad this year, and I think he won't take risks. He'll bring players in that he feels that he can trust. Chris McLean has made a comment. He says, do you want us to sign Matic in the window? No, I don't, if I'm honest. Riggers 1990.
Secret sign.
He says secret signing. Riggers 1990 says the secret signing will be Bale. I don't disagree. Harry Price.
Herrera, he's fucking shite. Oh, we sell him.
Harry Price says Herrera's rubbish and we hope we sell him. The thing about Snapchat is we might get a few dodgy ones, which is why I have to have my finger near the thing. JP?
Do you think Keita from RB Leipzig would be a good signing for Man United?
Keita from RP Leipzig has had a good season and we're not linked to him. I think Liverpool want him. I spoke to somebody who watches a lot of German football about 2 months ago, and they said Keita will flop in the Premier League. He won't be this star that Liverpool think he's going to get. We're not linked to him at all, so he may well go to Liverpool. Yeah, watch the space on that one. TBR own 100.
I'm a bit like you. I want us to sign Cardi, top striker, but definitely Jorginho from Napoli. Definitely to sign him. Perfect. What do you think of?
That was TBR own 100. Likes Icardi like me, likes Jorginho from Napoli, which I don't know. Did we do? I think I mentioned him on a Football Daily. I did. I mentioned him on a Football Daily this week. Mid-20s he is now at Napoli. He's very like Michael Carrick. But he's a little bit quicker and he can play a little bit more attacking. Again, not linked to him, but a very good shout. Jorginho, Napoli. And Mark, sorry, what was that question from? Oh, I forgot the question now. I kept it back from Coffee. Can anyone remember what it was? The question, it's just totally gone out of my mind. I know it was a good one and I was going to come back to it. If anyone remembers what the question was, put it in brackets and I'll get it before we finish. Look, a lot of people say we don't need to sign anybody because we've got Ander Herrera. Jesse Hitman saying it. Look, we need to sign a centre defensive midfielder. It doesn't, whether it's Eric Dyer, Jorginho, Matuidi, whoever, we need to sign one. Now, then it's Mourinho's job as to whether he plays them as the first choice or he uses Herrera. The reality is, it's not disrespectful to Herrera to sign somebody. Look what happened to us. The last 2 months of the season, Mourinho constantly, my team is fatigued, my team is tired, I need to sign people, this, that and the other. The reason that is because he basically has Fellaini, Pogba and Herrera and Carrick, who can only play one game a week, as his centre midfielders. 4 players to cover 3 positions. He needs to get somebody else, and he will get somebody else. So I agree, Herrera can play that position, but we need another option. Paul Reed says, what would happen to Rashford if we signed Mbappe? What happens to Rashford if we sign Aubameyang? What happens to Rashford if we sign Icardi? He's got to fight for his place. He'll still get opportunities. And Jitten makes a good point. We need fast wingers more than we need a number 10, don't you think? I do. We need to sign a fast winger, which is exactly the reason Perisic would be good. Bruma from Galatasaray. Costa from Bayern Munich. Willian from Chelsea. The list goes on and on. Moura from PSG. We need to sign one of those players. It's encouraging we are being linked to so many. United in the stands chance. Who else thinks that Mark is trying to do the Mbappe celebration on his new profile picture? Oh, of course. I've got a new profile picture on Twitter at Mark Goldbridge. People says it looks a bit miserable, but I can be a moody git. I've been a bit political this week as well, so I thought I'd go for something a little bit more mature. You can see that at Mark Goldbridge. And also, big shout out to the Draughty Devil. We've changed the, if you go to the United Stand homepage on Twitter, we've changed it from all the fans now to a load of different Manchester United moments, which I think looks better. Mad Marcus, what happens to me now you've got Beck? I didn't even know you were here tonight, mate. I didn't even know you were here because Beck's doing all the good work. But yeah, what should we do with Mad Marcus? He's got to sort of come redundant now. He's not going to be able to do watch-alongs. What to do with Mad Marcus? Hashtag what to do with Mad Marcus. I suppose I could get him on my channel and beat him at FIFA again. I think that's a good idea. A lot of people saying that Mendy's City bound. I'd be disappointed about that. Oh, that was the question. Were you disappointed about Silva? I forgot. I've got it back. Well done for that man for mentioning. Jim Danger says Mark was xenophobic this week. Oh, boring. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't at all. And I'm not being political on the United Stand, but I wasn't xenophobic at all. Mark, the question was, Yes, Simon Coffey. I've seen it now. Thanks for that, Simon. Remember, drop a like on the video. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. There's 2,000 people watching, so 1,000 likes whilst we're live would be fantastic. But Silva, am I disappointed that he's gone to Manchester City? I think it's a great question. We've been getting a lot of stick from City fans who suddenly think they're relevant, despite winning nothing last year. They've made one signing before anybody else. It's just like, you know, it's like when everybody's going to get a really nice dessert, but City push the queue to get theirs, but they only take one, and everyone else can then come along and pick better desserts. That's what the Silva signing is. It's a nice dessert that City have nicked, but everyone else is going to take their sign and get better desserts, and probably more than one. Bernardo Silva's a good player. I'm not going to lie about that. He's a good player, but my honest thought, and I've said it on previous videos, and it's the same as James Rodriguez, Look, I'm not going to say he's better than Mata and Mkhitaryan because he's never played in the Premier League, and the same goes for James Rodriguez. Potentially he could be better than them, but we have players who can play that position, and Pereira, I think, can be that player. So, am I disappointed we haven't signed him? No. Do I think he's a good player? Yes. Do I think we might regret not going in for him? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But do I think that there are more important positions to do before spending £70 million on Bernardo Silva? 100%. And if you spend £70 million on Bernardo Silva and then fill those other positions, you're spending over £300 million this summer. And that is a lot of money. I don't think Manchester United should or are looking to spend more than 200. So, good player, not disappointed. I'd be disappointed if we didn't get Fabinho and Mendy, but I imagine they will both go to Man City because they're buying up Monaco because Pep's desperate and lazy, so he's going to pick somebody else's system and then put it into his own team. But Silva's good. Fabinho and Mendy probably would be more disappointing to me because Fabinho, I think, would fit into a position we need somebody, centre defensive midfielder. And Mendy, although I want Luke Shaw to be our left back, I don't think Mourinho does. So if Luke Shaw's out of the equation, the left back I would want in world football at the moment is Mendy. So that's honest. There we go. And that's it. I've been talking for an hour. So we've done an hour. I like the Saturday night show. I don't know whether you do. It's fast paced. It's live comments. It's Twitter and it's Snapchat. It flies by. I really enjoy it. I hope you do as well. If you do, drop a like on it. If you're new, subscribe. Bottom right hand corner. I'm back tomorrow with the United Ramble with Robbie, which is something different compared to the studio. And then tomorrow night at 8:30, we've got our Manchester United season review. It's massive. At some point on the United Ramble tomorrow, I will give you the link where you can put your votes in for the awards show at the night. We've got things like Player of the Year, Goal of the Year, Performance. No, we're not doing Goal of the Year because we all know who it is. Performance of the Season, Young Player, Most Improved, Flop. Lots of awards for you to vote on. So watch the Ramble in the morning because I'll give you a link to the website where you can just go through it and cast your votes. We'll also be talking about whether it's been a good season, a bad season, some looking through that. So it's a season review show live tomorrow night at 8:30. We do it every season. It's always a good show. I don't know whether I'll be wearing my suit and tie because it's quite hot. But thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed tonight. And yeah, this is another show that I really, really, really enjoy. So thanks everybody for the idea. Robbie hasn't died, Abdullah. He's back tomorrow. But yeah, thanks. This idea was yours, and I think, you know, it's fast-paced, but I really enjoy it. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow morning. See you soon. Of course, if anything breaks between now and then, we'll go live.